Hello everyone, and my name is Greg Furman, market analyst here at TraderPlanet.com, and these are the market positions for October the 12th, 2011. Now today we were trading gold by way of the IAU. Pretty good trade today. Metals doing quite well, pushing a little bit higher following this corrective move higher. Not sure if it's a trend reversal or not. So today what we're going to be looking at is the Power Shares DB Silver Fund, the DBS. Now, looking at this is a setup that I often look for that is a very high percentage trade. We have the predicted MACD and the predicted TSI in heavily oversold territory, and we have a crossover on these triggers. We have the predicted short, medium, and long-term differences pushing above the zero line. Now when we look at this, we break this down by individual crossover. We can see the short-term crossover has crossed about 4 or 5 days ago. However, our medium-term crossover is only about 3 days old, which is quite good. Now, unfortunately, our long-term crossover has not crossed, but it's getting ready to cross that trigger. So a number of our indicators here are lining up, saying that we're going to get at least a fairly substantial move. Now, what we want to do here is go back and identify what could be considered critical resistance. Right now we can see that we've closed at 76.21. A problem area for us will be the 57.91 area. We then have 55.10, 55.51. So you can see we've closed above two of the Vantage Point predicted moving averages. So that in itself is bullish, combined with that short and medium term crossover. So again, we're looking for that corrective move up here, but I want to identify clearly that we are still in a downtrend on silver. So we're trading, depending on what you consider the overall trend, the immediate trend is down. So what we're doing is capitalizing on this corrective move. And so what we're going to do from here is go into the Vantage Point daily report, have a look at the predicted highs and predicted lows, and see what we're dealing with. For tomorrow we have 55.36, a high of 56.60. That's our range for tomorrow that we have to deal with. We can see here the predicted short and medium term differences are turning positive. These are critical Vantage Point indicators that assist us in telling not only the strength of the trend, but potential reversals. We can also see for the second day in a row, we have the neural index pointing up. So if we look at our predictions from yesterday, we were looking at 55.11, 56.72 for today's range. Now the actual range was 55.30, 56.24. That's what we had to deal with. So we had a higher high, but we also, you know, we had a higher low, but our higher high, well, slightly, but not a lot. If we look at these, we had 56.26 yesterday, so we're still right around that same area. We do have some resistance up there. So when we look at this and we bring this up on the Vantage Point charts, we can look at it. This is a very good way of demonstrating whether we're in a bullish, bearish, sideways, where are we with the predicted highs and predicted lows. Well, of the last 5 trading days, it's broke above the Vantage Point predicted high 3 times. So 3 of the last 5 days we've broken higher. That's very, very bullish, short and medium term. So we're going to look to capitalize on that. Now, because we had that low yesterday, I'm not sure we're going to get all the way down to 55.36, but it's very possible. So we're going to use the Vantage Point predicted low, but a little bit more. We're going to add about 20 cents to that. We're going to be looking at the 55.50 level to get into our long position, and we're still going to target 56.60. Now, if we can get a dollar move on this particular share tomorrow, that's a very good intraday trade. That's our first position for tomorrow. Now our second trade for tonight is again in the ETF market, the iShares Japan Index, the EWJ. Now this trade here looks interesting. Our setup remains very similar to that silver trade. There is a high correlation to these trades. Just to point that out, we can see the predicted true strength indicator from Vantage Point has crossed it. It's been running flat along the trigger and is now breaking higher. The predicted MACD, the exact same thing. The predicted short, medium, and long-term differences are all just barely above the zero line. This is a very bullish pattern. We can see our triple EMA cross is trying very, very hard to get across this trigger, but it's struggling a bit. Let's break this down by individual crossovers. Our short-term crossover is only 2 days old. That's a good looking setup for a trade. Our medium-term crossover has crossed the trigger, but clearly it's struggling here. In our our long-term crossover, it too has crossed that trigger, however, just barely. So when we look at this, this has got the makings for a potential move higher. We can see that very recently, just going back to the beginning of August, this was at $10.80 a share. I can easily see this moving back to that level if we get a rally on the S&P 500. Now again, the correlation to the S&P 500 and even a number of other ETFs highly correlated to that S&P 500. So when trading this, you want to keep a close eye on that index just to kind of gauge how things are moving along. But even with the recent sell-off on the S&P 500, this has managed to stabilize, right around this $9.20 mark. If I take this here and I just draw a flat line here, we would want our stops on this particular trade about the $8.80 mark. And the immediate target would, of course, be the $9.80, $10 range. But a more medium, longer term target could easily be back towards this $10, $10, $11 a share. Now let's go into our daily report from Vantage Point and see if we can fine tune an entry for tomorrow. We can see we have a close here at 9.54. We have 9.51, 9.61. So we only have about a 10-cent predicted move here tomorrow. But again, 10 cents on a $9 share can be quite good if you're, depending on how you're trading this. But again, we're looking for more of a medium-term outlook here, so I'm going to target, even for your short-term traders here, I'm going to put a target on this of about $9.80. Your medium-term, longer-term traders, 10 plus, and then strictly your longer-term traders, and by longer-term traders, I'm talking mid-November, that type of thing. We should be looking at about 10.50, 10.30. That's the kind of target. But an immediate intraday target would be about 20 cents a share, which is quite good on a very, very low cost ETF. So with that said, now actually before I do that, I'm gonna come back here to the main chart, and we're gonna pull this up just to see how accurate Vantage Point has been on the predicted high and predicted low, and whether this chart is showing us something bullish or something bearish. We can see again, if I take the last 5 trading days, 3 of the last 5 trading days, once again, we have broke above that Vantage Point predicted high. This is, again, points to a bullish move. So we're putting a lot into our analysis. We're looking at a lot of different things and utilizing as many of the Vantage Point tools as possible to get a good idea of what the market is going to do. Our concern is not really what it's doing right now, it's what it's going to do. So with that said, again, my name is Greg Furman, market analyst here at TraderPlanet.com, and these are the positions for October the 12th, 2011.